Welcome to Unleash Your Greatness. I'm Adam Platt. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is productivity and how to get more done in your day. So I'm going to cue up the intro, and then we're going to get right into the topic. All right, today we're talking about productivity and how we can get more done in our day, because let's be honest, who doesn't want to get more done throughout the day and just to go out and just win the day? Because here's the fact that we oftentimes get caught up in things that just don't matter. We get caught up in social media. We got caught up in the news feed, the CNN, the whatever it is. Like, we get caught up in so many things that just don't matter. And then before we know it, like, we've spent an hour scrolling through something, or we spent hours trying to get our to-do list under control. And all of a sudden it's like, did I get anything done? Like, it doesn't feel like I got the things done that really are going to move the needle for me. So today I really want to focus on how to be productive, how to really get things done so that we can win our day, so that we can accomplish more and we can become the high achiever that we really want to be. I'm an achievement coach, and so this is such a passion of mine because so much time gets wasted all the time by so many people, and they just don't know how to focus their time. So I want to talk about productivity and how we can get more things done. And one of the most amazing books I've ever read is called The One Thing. It is by Gary Keller, and it's called The One Thing. If you haven't read this, I suggest picking it up and getting a copy and reading this book. It is absolutely amazing because in this book, he really narrows down your focus. And so he tells you how to ask this question. And the question is, what's the one thing I can do right now that's going to move the needle for me, and so that it will make everything else completely easier or absolutely unnecessary? And what's that one thing? And so ask yourself, like, what's the one thing I can do today that's going to move me forward in my goals, my dreams, in accomplishing things that I want to get done? If you're at work and you're like, what's the one thing I need to get done today? Because here's the facts. We only have so much energy. And yes, I believe that we can do things to re-energize that energy. We can go for a walk. We can do all these different things. We can meditate. And that's a whole different topic in itself about productivity. Right now, I want to focus mostly on how to get things done. But really, like, we have so much energy, and as we do stuff and we put energy into certain tasks, eventually that energy is going to get depleted and it's going to be gone. It's going to go away. And then we're like, I just don't want to do that. Like, we don't have the energy to get that big thing accomplished that we really should have been focusing on probably first. And then you're like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, you get caught up in that to-do list, you get stuck in social media scroll, you get stuck in the news feed, whatever. And before you know it, your energy's gone. Or your kids come in and they say, hey, they pull your attention away into some other realm, or you start getting involved in your email or whatever. Like, there's so many things that we can get sucked into. And then before you know it, like, the day's gone, you haven't got that one thing done. So you're going to do it tomorrow, and then it's always tomorrow. And eventually you're like up against a deadline, and it's either do or die, and you're crunch to get it done, and it's maybe not your best work. I don't want that to happen to you. So let's ask that question. What's the one thing I can do today that will make all things easier or unnecessary? And what that does is, in the book, The One Thing, Gary explains this. He's like, it gives a big picture, right? Like, it gives this big picture of what's the one thing. Like, you're putting it out there, like, all this stuff I need to get done. What's that one thing? But then you get super laser focused on what that one thing is, and you narrow it down. And you ask yourself, what's the one thing today, right? Like, what is the thing today? Set your priorities. Put your energy and focus into that one thing that's going to make everything easier or unnecessary. Because there's things that you can do throughout your day that is just busy work, And I don't want you to get caught in that busy work. I want you to get caught or doing the things that are going to really propel you forward towards that goal, that dream, that lifestyle you want, or getting that project done, or making that greater connection with your audience, or whatever it is for you. What's that one thing that you can do today to get that done? And I remember hearing about Timothy Ferriss. He's the author of the 40-Hour Workweek. Somebody asked him, he's like, what does the day look like for Timothy Ferriss? Because you get so much done. And he replied with this answer. He's like, you know what? If you were actually to come and be like a fly on the wall and watch me or film me throughout my day, you'd be bored to death. Because I wake up and I meditate, and then I maybe go for a walk, but then I always have that one thing. It's basically the exact same thing that's in the book, the one thing. I have that, what's that one thing that I can do, that one domino, that if I do that, it will knock everything else over and make it easier, or completely I don't have to do it at all. And so ask yourself, like, what is that one thing? What's that one simple task that you can do today? And maybe it's not simple. Maybe it's a big thing, right? Like Brian Tracy talks about swallow the frog. Like, get up in the morning, do the hard thing. Don't wait till 3:00 in the afternoon to do that sucky thing that you don't want to do. Because if you do, you're not going to have the energy to do it. Swallow the frog. Get up, eat that frog first thing in the morning. So set your intention for the day. And then another thing that Gary Keller brings up in the one thing in the book is he's like, make sure you're blocking out time to work on that, to work on the goals, to work on that one thing every day. If you want to write a book, make sure you're blocking out time throughout your day or your week to focus on writing. And that's all you do, like nothing else. Because so many times we praise people who think they can multitask, but they're really not getting as much done as they could be if they're like, okay, I'm going to get this done. And when it's done, I move on to the next thing. And when that's done, I move on to the next thing. Because here's the facts, and there's been a ton of research done on this, is every time you switch from one task to another, it takes you anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to get refocused on what you were doing. And so if you're always like moving between tasks and trying to do something, like multiple things at the same time, you're losing that momentum that you could be doing on that one thing, right? So you lose the momentum. You have to get refocused. Like, okay, where was I? What was I doing? What was I about to accomplish with this? And just, you got to take time to just focus on that one thing throughout your day. Block out time, put it on your calendar, set time aside, and let people know, let your coworkers know, let your family know, let people around you know, like, hey, during this time, like, I'm focused on this task. I've got to get this done, and it's going to be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Now, there's things you need to be doing and be aware of during that time. Like, don't just sit at a desk for 3 hours and work on that one thing. Get up every hour at least and move around. And it doesn't take long, 5-10 minutes. Move around, get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever it is. Get up and move. But make sure that you're setting time aside to work on that one thing. Don't get distracted. Don't try to multitask. People who multitask are not as effective as if they're like, hey, I'm going to get this one thing done. And that's why there's so much unproductivity in the workforce, is because people are sitting there working, and then someone comes into their cubicle or their office and they're like, hey, I have a question for you. And then next thing you know, they're derailed. They're pulled into that person's world, and they're not as efficient as they could be if they had just been like, you know what, I will get back to you later. Send me an email. I'll answer that in my time that I set aside for email. And set aside time for email, because, man, when you set a time aside for those little minimal tasks, then, and you can just focus on that and nothing else, then again, that's like you're getting laser focused on that. If you're one of those people who get up and check your email first thing in the morning, and you get sucked into other people's agendas, and you start answering emails like, oh, I need to answer this person and do this and work on that, and then your day's gone, and you haven't set yourself up for success. Sure, maybe you got that person's work done. Maybe you got that person's question answered. Maybe you got that person's project going in their way, but you haven't got what you need to get done. So be aware of that. Don't get sucked into other people's agendas by not blocking out the time and working on what you need to get done. This is so important, you guys, to becoming a high achiever, to working on your goals, your dreams, to accomplishing the things that you need to get done, is set the time aside to work on that one thing. And then ask yourself that question is, what's the one thing I can do today that's going to make all other things unnecessary or obsolete? Like, I don't need to do them anymore. Ask yourself that question. What is that one thing? And when you do that and you create that big picture of what is it, of all the things I could be doing, what's that one thing? And then you get laser focused on what it is, man, like the needle just starts moving. The needle just starts propelling you forward. You get momentum, and here's the beautiful thing. Then you can get in a state of flow, which is also an important thing about being productive, is when you can get in that state of flow where it's like, man, you're working on that paper. I remember when I was in college and getting my master's degree, and I had to sit down and write a paper, a long, like 10, 15, 20 page paper. And I was like, and I was just cranking it out. Next thing I know, like 2-3 hours have passed. It's like I was in the flow because I set aside the time to work on that one project. Usually it was because it was due tomorrow, which again, I don't suggest. Don't wait until it's like due or you need to get it done like today, or else it's going to affect something tomorrow. But what's the one thing that's really going to move you forward? And ask yourself that question. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Go and pick up a copy of The One Thing. If you haven't read it, it's such an amazing book. There's so much more to productivity, but that book is like, it lays the groundwork of how you can be most effective and to set yourself up for success so that you can go and achieve the things that you want to in life, whether that's in your personal life, your professional career, your business, whatever it is, your relationships. Like, what's the one thing in your relationship that if I do right now, today, that's going to help in the future, right? What's the one thing? If I leave a little note for my spouse, what's that going to do? So set yourself up for success. What's that one thing? Ask yourself that. And it starts with setting the intention. First thing in the morning, set that intention of like, every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to say, what's the one thing that if I do today that will make all other things unnecessary or easier to accomplish? And ask yourself that. And then when you get laser focused, man, that's when the magic happens. So again, I hope this has been helpful for you. Go read The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's an amazing book. I love it. I totally open my eyes up to, and I talk about productivity all the time. I've been learning about productivity. It's one of my passions, is teaching people how to be more productive. But that book gave me a lot more things that opened up my mind to how I can be more productive. And there's so much that we can all learn about being more productive and making our day just more amazing so that we don't get caught up in the mires, in the weeds of all the to-do lists, the things that just like, they're not going to matter as much as that one thing. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for joining me today, and go out there, unleash your greatness, live the life you're meant to live, and have an amazing day.